Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Fleeter's all right. He's doing okay.
He's like, I don't know why he's running around like a fool at like 11 o'clock. I have to send a text. What is the meaning of this?
Are you sending a text to Fleeter? Is that who you're sending it to?
Yeah.
You sending him a page?
He has a phone. See, it stopped.
There you go. You got the message.
Yeah. He's like, oh, Dad's mad. Better cool it. Oh, good vibes only. All right.
Good vibes only, Brent. Knock it off. All right.
Not observations. No observations.
You know what?
Factual.
People have technical difficulties, and they've been in the entertainment business for decades. Okay. You think NBC? You think CBS? You think they don't have technical difficulties? All right. If you're missing the point here, folks, I had some technical difficulties that you didn't see prior to hitting record here. So
just for the sake of clarity, before every show, Alex's eyes are darting like everywhere, and it's like he's like looking at NASA's control board, going like, "Okay, hang on. Wait a second. Wait." And it's like 20 minutes. Like, okay, let's start the show, dude.
Because I want it to be perfect. Brent.
Okay, 65 shows in. And still you don't understand NASA's control center yet.
It's not my fault if they keep changing things. Okay, they keep upgrading equipment. Like, it's, we keep trying to go to version 17.2.3. So whatever, man. That's why I'm saying good vibes only.
Okay,
good vibes only.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, speaking of good vibes, ready for this?
Yes, please.
I'm drinking a beer tonight. It's a wheat beer. It's not my first choice, but it's all we had left in the fridge. You ready for this glass?
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Man, that's cool. Where did you get that?
Christmas gift from
That's awesome.
Karina.
Very cool.
From the Hendrix store or something.
What? There's a Hendrix store?
Something like online. If you just go to jimmyhendrix.com, I'm sure there's a store. I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that's where it came from. Okay, well, let's get into it. Jeez. Right. Like, jeepers. We were spending time talking before this. Technical difficulties.
Come on,
nobody ever has. Okay, here to talk about a big one. This is a big album. This is a really long album.
It's a double album.
People are waiting.
London Calling. More than an hour long.
Yeah.
19 songs on this.
I was a little surprised by that. I kind of thought, did I pick a deluxe version to listen to? Turns out that's just the album.
Yeah. Apparently it was I think it was originally released as a double album in the UK. But later on it was not, based on maybe technology, I suppose.
Oh, they were able to get it onto one. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guys, they love their fans so much they only wanted to charge the price of a single album at the time of its release.
Bless their punk rock hearts.
Yeah, we're on a bit of this punk rock curve right now, following Costello.
This is a great segue because this record did much the same thing that Costello did with his early records, and that is bridge the gap between punk and post-punk and new wave. And this is one of those records that actually is widely credited with that. And for me, the big consideration of this record is, and I've always kind of struggled with this, is the Clash is billed as this punk band, and they have punk roots. But this record makes you wonder if they've kind of left those roots behind or just introduced new elements into, punk and kind of defined a new way of, because punk, we talked about this last time, like Costello wasn't truly a punk rocker insofar as musicianship, nor were the Police. It's more of the attitude and the anti-establishment stance and that stuff, right? It's not technically, Dead Kennedys, Sex Pistols stuff.
Boy, what an eclectic kind of hodgepodge of songs that all work really well in an album.
I agree. There's a lot in here to digest. There's the obvious stuff, punk, pop, but soul and R&B and rockabilly.
Yeah. Yeah, reggae as well. Obviously, it's sort of, and that was interesting to hear in this as well. I always kind of thought that the Police were the guys like the reggae guys, the reggae rockers from the UK, and then you get then I listen to this and I'm like, oh, that was just like a UK thing. Like that was kind of just what was happening around there at the time in the 70s and 80s.
It was, and it was we talked about this before, that movement that was going on with ska. And the Police was part of that. The Clash certainly, and it worked into things like Fishbone, if you know that band, and then into new wave, and then new romanticism. But it's really fascinating when you kind of look at the plumbing of this, right? Because it kind of everything, it's very complex in terms of what led to what and how things started and where they ended up in the early 80s to mid 80s.
Well, this was great. This was a great listen. And I suppose my response should be not surprising, considered this album was considered by Rolling Stones the greatest album of the 80s. Yeah. So it's not an unpopular opinion to like this record, but this was great. There was a ton of, again, like I said, a ton of great sounds, a lot of, anti-establishment, but not just like... Okay. So here's my thinking of it as from like, I think punk, you think in kind of like a little bit aggressive and kind of violent, and you don't really know what they're singing about. It just feels like, okay, you're angry, right? But I believe that there is substance to every punk band and all of their music, because again, that's like you're saying, the style. I wasn't really expecting the smarts in the writing, in the understanding of what was happening around them, that they would go as far back to talking about, with regards to Spanish bombs. Right. They go back, and they really point out these things. And it's interesting too, because I feel like there are, like, this could be the greatest album of the 2000s. This could be the greatest albums of the 2010s, right? And it brings back this, I think, idea that these albums are great because they're timeless punk, timeless rock, but they are, right? Like when you can take this thing and you can play these songs at any point and it can be like, wow, that is happening right outside right now. First of all, it tells you the state of our world and how we have no idea how to learn from our history. But man, to wrap it all up, what they had to sing about and the importance, I think, of what they were singing about too, never occurred to me that the Clash would be the band to be doing that. So
no, and that's a terrific point. It truly is, because when I listen to this record, I'm reminded of, like, there's songs like the Right Profile. Yeah. That 20 years later sounds like Blur, Park Life. So it's remarkably relevant across time. Like, it truly is, lyrically and musically. It's an incredible, and I think that's the specialness of this record. I think that's why people recognize it as like an extremely important record, because it just, across the continuum of popular music, it remains relevant like not many records do.
My understanding is that this album followed their previous album, believe it or not. But
really,
yeah. I guess like this like they had writer's block. They didn't really know what they were doing going into this one, and they kind of found Vanilla Studios or whatever, and that's where they started to work all this stuff out. And they really kind of became themselves. They became they allowed themselves to like separate from being like, this is what punk is, this is what we need to be, and I guess you could say like discovered themselves and ended up creating one of the greatest albums. I think it's like top 15 on the Rolling Stones top 500 of all time.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. This record gets huge respect from people who know music very, very intimately. And I fully support that. When they were recording, when they were in the studio, and they did have writer's block for a couple of years, like the previous record was called Give 'Em Enough Rope. And they were getting away. On that record, they started to get away from their punk roots. And they were in the studio. They had writer's block. They were frustrated. And they started covering like ska songs and old R&B songs and soul songs. And then they kind of, you know, developed this vibe. And I think they had Bo Diddley opening up for them, or the other way around. And they got that, and you can hear that in one of the songs. It's Hateful on the first side of the first record. It's got that kind of hand jive, da, 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 you know? So they're wearing their influences like on their sleeves, post-punk, and moving away from their roots. And it would be interesting, you know, to think about like how they felt about that at the time. Because punk is like metal that way, right? It's very kind of, you know, allegiance centric. So
yeah,
like don't be a sellout kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
like if Metallica went from, you know,
when they did, you know, an Allman Brothers tune, you know, people just like freaked out. It was like a dog whistle, you know?
Yeah. I didn't actually have an example. I didn't know. I figured Metallica sold out in general anyways. That's why I said just like Metallica. Like that's why when Metallica...
I wrote about that in No Sleep Till Celebrate. This is the fact that like hurricanes blow out, right? I mean, like, your anger and your rage as a kid, you know, Hetfield had a terrible upbringing. And those first 3 Metallica records are a direct... you know, are direct evidence of that. But eventually you kind of come to terms with that, and you can't sustain that forever. And they knew music. They appreciated music. They appreciated Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers. And so they, you know, eventually kind of, I think they played with, on, what was that record they did? Not Garage Incorporated. They played as an Allman Brothers tune with, Popper, that harmonica player, like sitting around in the studio. Anyway, London Calling is interesting because I always wondered what that was about. Like London Calling. What does that mean?
Right.
What it means, it's a reference to World War II. And I think that it was the BBC station ID to occupied countries where they were broadcasting during World War II, saying it's London Calling. And then they would, you know, talk about, they would share news and stuff like that. That's where this is from.
That's sort of the narrative that weaves through this album, is this post-apocalyptic world, or just all these things that are happening in the world that are leading to its demise, essentially.
And again, you know, we talked about Costello and the punk aesthetic, right? Mm-hmm. It's depression. It's identity confusion. It's, you know, rage against the establishment. That great, and you're right about the apocalyptic aspect. The great lyric is, London is drowning and I live by the river. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like, there's just, and what's the other thing? Yeah, the Beatles reference.
Oh yeah, the Beatlemania. Yeah. Now don't look at us. Phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust.
Right. Now, there was a little bit of discomfort there and uncertainty, and this leads back to, you know, them kind of opening up to their ska, you know, proclivities, because punk was just dying at that time, I think. Like, this came out in 79, and the punk boom was fading by 1978. And so they were kind of between a rock and a hard place, going like, you know, and I think that's where that lyric came from. Like, we're going to do what we want to do.
Great song to kick things off. The only song really, wow, there's a couple, but this was the main song that I knew from The Clash, obviously, was London Calling. So,
yeah.
So it was nice to go, it was nice to move beyond it. It was nice to get beyond the song and discover more, as it's always been the case lately with these albums. Brand New Cadillac is a cover, but again, this is the idea that they're taking inspiration from. This guy was Vince Taylor, who wrote this song, who was like an was an Irish rocker as well. They claim it is like the first punk rocker that they knew of.
Well, my baby drove up in a brand new Cadillac. Yes, she did. My baby drove up in a brand new Cadillac.
Yeah, and this I think they used to warm up with this song in the studio before they got down to it. They decided just to record it for the record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, you made a great point there. A lot of people, I think, didn't know that the Clash was so deep and vast in terms of, genre, richness, right? They thought like punk, maybe a little bit of pop, they knew Rock the Casbah and, Train of Vain and stuff like that. But like, this is a fantastic record in terms of depth. So I'm glad that I'm glad that I knew you'd like it. I mean, I knew you were going to love this record.
So Guy Stevens was the producer of this, an absolute nut bar. It sounds like he would just get absolutely wasted and have crazy production techniques that he would implement during recordings.
Yeah. They didn't want him to the record company, I don't think, wanted him to be the producer because they weren't sure of his capability, but also he was hitting a reputation of being a nutcase. Like he would throw chairs around just to kind of wake people up and say, "Come on, this is a rock and roll record," and he would throw a chair against the wall.
Which he did. He threw around furniture when they recorded "Death and Glory."
That's right.
And I guess he's also known to have been pouring wine into pianos while people would play the piano because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know the sense behind that, but that was the story that it happened, right? Yeah, all the record companies never wanted their bands to record with this guy, but the band was like, this, he's great. He gets what he gets what he needs out of us. He gets what we need out of us. I think there was a point when he was so out of it that one of the members of the Clash and the engineer were producing the album at one point because he was not available to do so. But
oh, really?
Yeah. I can't remember. Was it Guns of Brixton maybe for that song? Anyways, it was his idea to put Brand New Cadillac on here, and they recorded it in one take. That was something I read.
Oh, did they really? Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
It was all done in one take. Yeah.
Nice.
Neat stuff.
Good tune.
Great tune. I love it. Kids love it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jimmy Jazz.
Great sax break in this. Love it. And again, jazz.
Yeah, it's a great little. It's a little sauntering tune. I love it, and not unexpected. But this is what I'm saying. Like every time a song ended, I was like, "What's next? What are they gonna do next?"
I know.
Right? I was like, "This is so cool."
This album is like an amusement park in that way, right? You don't know.
Oh my
what's
goodness!
Coming. Yeah.
Yes.
It's very cool.
And it never disappoints you. Hateful.
This is that hand jive tune, Bo Diddley.
Right.
Dun, 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 dun. But the cool thing is, it's like it's got that like hand jive feel. Plus, it's delivered in a post-punk kind of delivery, right? Like it with that feel, and it's also got like a I don't know. It's special. Like it's just special the way that they put these songs across.
This really this tells me that they're from the UK. Like this tells me that they're from that part of the world. This kind of a song. I get it feels traditional in a way as well, right?
That's a really good point. That traditional feel, when you listen to like Celtic music.
Yes. Yeah.
It's got that warmth about it.
Yeah.
Right? All through this record, you get that sense of traditionalism, and that's a very, very important thread when you when you think about London Calling.
Through a lot of them, I really felt like, yeah, this feels, yeah, like you said, like kind of Celtic-ish, that feeling. I don't know, I don't know. Maybe it's some, like, it almost kind of sounds like there's a pan flute in there. I don't think it is a pan flute, but it just, there's something traditional about something that plays in there. And I love that they kind of go for it. It's like a fun, boppy song. It's about, to mind, if like when I went through it, drugs, because it's, I got a friend, a man, the man who keeps me from the lonely, the only, he gives me what I need. Anything I want, he gives it to me. And then they do this cool thing where it goes, and it's hateful, and it's paid for, and I'm so grateful to be nowhere. Like, it kind of just like, it's like anything I want, and then I got it, and then I don't know. I love the way that they navigated it, that composed that part of the song to run with it.
It's funny because as you go through the record, you hear little bits of things that remind you of, I hear very slight aspects of people like Bruce Springsteen or the Kinks. But there's no direct it's just a feeling that kind of comes through, right? It's not like they ripped off something specific. It's, I don't know. It's just, there's a feel about it.
Rudy Can't Fail.
This is so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good.
We just watched the Police episode that we did, Synchronicity, just went out today. And I was thinking about the correlation, because in this song, I think there's a rhyme that rhymes the words nervous and service. Yeah. And I thought about Sting and his crazy, rhyming couplets and
ridiculous rhyming. Yeah, but you know what? There are some great, I can't obviously think about it now. Maybe we'll come across it when we get there, but there are some great rhymes in some of the lyrics throughout some of these songs.
Yeah.
Some great rhymes.
They're terrific. The lyrics are fantastic. Strummer was just such a, and Jones too, like super bright guys.
Nothing wrong. So about the Rude Boys or something, I think there was like a Rude Boys group in
Jamaica.
The UK or Jamaica. Okay. Yeah. That came over to the UK.
I think it was about, the reason why it's Rudy is because of the Rude Boys. Right. And the Rude Boys was this group in Jamaica in the 60s that they sent a message to their elders that they were going to do things their own way.
Yeah.
And that impressed Strummer, and he wrote this song about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a 1960s Jamaican subculture that became popular in the United Kingdom. Again, just to like be thinking about that, to be like aware of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't want to say that these guys aren't smart people, but like, I don't know. It doesn't come to mind that like that's what they're singing about. I'm so used to these days, all the people are singing about are like broken hearts, And then when you start going back and you're like, people sang about important things.
Absolutely. The Spanish Civil War, it's like, some of these, it's like a history lesson almost,
Oh yeah, definitely. Spanish bombs is great.
Another great lyric in this, he talking about Spanish bombs going off, and he said, I hear music from a different time. So he's referencing the bombs as a musical measure from the Spanish Civil War. Like the really cool lyricism.
And then they start singing Spanish. Yo te quiero infinito.
They actually had a pretty good sense of humor too, right? So again, you think punk, like everybody's angry and they're smashing shit up and stuff, but like these guys, they're having fun. You can hear it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, this interesting instrumental to it that it doesn't, you don't correlate with the Clash, like especially when it starts out. Once they start singing, once the Clash starts singing, it becomes a Clash song. Right? There's no, that might sound obvious and stupid, but like when you start hearing it start out, you're like, how are they going to make this a Clash song? And just by singing. That's a good point. From this record, I think it's on side 4, is a song called Lovers Rock. And when you hear the guitar, it's so generic in a good way, not in a bad way. That it could be anyone. And you think, this is a Clash record, but this sounds nothing like the Clash. And then they start singing, and it's like, oh, it is Clash. But they're incorporating all these really cool things. You know, it's neat.
The right profile.
What are you trying to say?
I was going to say the rote profile. I was
I thought you were trying to do an accent.
No. Not yet. Let me get a little further along here.
There you go.
All right. The right profile.
Yes. So that's the song that sounds like, what was called Britpop in Manchester.
Okay.
Blur, in essence, right? Listen to that song, Park Life, and it sounds just like the right profile at the beginning. It sounds like it could be Blur. It's almost like when you listen to indie bands and you hear David Bowie, kind of like early period Hunky Dory and The Man Who Sold the World. That's fascinating to me. 40, 45 years later, hearing bands, emulating David Bowie's early albums. That's cool.
Another aspect to it is the album cover. So just real quick, I'm going to deviate just real quick here, because the album cover, aside from the photo, the London Calling in the pink and green, right? That's a takeoff of an Elvis Presley album.
First one.
First one, right? We've been talking a lot in these last few albums, these last few bands, The Police, Elvis Costello, The Clash now, lifting, taking some stuff. There's a lot of that happening. Like, is that the secret to success here, Brent? Find out who is successful is one thing, and take it from them. Do it yourself.
Well, it varies across bands, right? I think there was a lot of what they called nicking going on in the UK. They would hear something and go, and over the course of musical history, that's happened. There's only, like I said, I always say, there's only 12 notes. Some bands were really obvious. Kiss was very obvious. Zeppelin, very obvious. Some bands were a little bit more, covert about it, but it happens. I mean, sometimes it happens without you even realizing it. There's only 12 notes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I think they knew exactly what they're doing with that album cover. But
that was I think that was kind of, it wasn't an homage, but it was kind of a little bit of mockery. That was very much on purpose. So that artwork was deliberately done in that way. And I think that Mick Jones, he went on to front a band called Big Audio Dynamite, and they released an album with that same kind of, lettering and coloring and everything. Yeah. Just, it's a joke, right? It's like kind of a little sly wink.
All right.
Yeah. Very much on purpose.
Doesn't seem very punk, but.
No, but sometimes not being punk is very punk. Sometimes that's the most punk you can be.
All right. Point taken. The right profile. Just quickly, Montgomery Clift. This was about was an actor.
The right profile.
The right profile.
I don't know a lot about this song.
Oh yeah, so this is like about an actor, Montgomery Clift, and he was in a car crash, and they called this like the longest suicide in Hollywood, basically. So he got in this car crash and he was injured. So then he got on painkillers, and then he became an alcoholic. And then over the course of like 10 years or something, I think close to 10 years, he basically killed himself through with drugs and alcohol or whatever. He ended up having a heart attack in bed and was found by, I think it's an assistant or something like that, in his bed. Yeah. But so this was about like noticing his car crash, people walking by. So the opening verse is like in red, say where did I see this guy? In Red River, or Place in the Sun, maybe The Misfits, or From Here to Eternity. Those are all the movies that he was in. So it's like people have seen him in this car crash and they're trying to pinpoint him. And that's kind of like the idea, but I guess it's a bit of a narrative from Strummer, because I guess it was his friends that found him in the car crash. So this idea that it was people just walking by didn't actually happen. But yeah, so then it's all about, hey, you know, it's all about Montgomery Cliff.
That's Montgomery Cliff, honey. New York, 42nd Street.
So,
Oh, jeez, I had no idea.
yeah, so all these things about this this actor, it's kind of sad, but a kind of a fall from grace. But yeah.
That's a very punk rock thing to do.
Oh, here we go. This is where the verse is, or that I love. It's Nembutal numbs it all, but I prefer alcohol. I don't know. I love that. That was a great,
That is good.
great rhymes. Then Lost in the Supermarket.
That song, I think it's very anthemic. I heard a story once about Joe Strummer when he was writing that. I think he wrote the chorus in the back of like a pack of guitar strings or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Great little bop, though. I do. I'm kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it is
man.
good.
Like, this is
Again,
great.
it's like anthemic. It just, again, like the vastness of this music is so compelling and cool.
Clampdown's great because it's got this wicked intro, and then it takes a complete, like, it just kind of flips
Yes.
a little bit. Love it. I love when a band can do this. It kind of starts out one way, and you're like, this is great, and then all of a sudden it's like,
I love it. Well, again, it's an anti-establishment against the kind of perceived threats of society, I guess. All the football hooligans and, you know.
working for the Clampdown.
That's right. It's a cool song, eh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, super catchy.
No, I was just thinking like this correlation between the government being a clampdown and then who you work for being a clampdown or something, right? Capitalism and fascism and idealism, all the isms. Yeah.
And then Brixton is next. Guns of Brixton.
So this is Simonin?
Simon.
Damn it. Simon. I can never just.
Simon.
This is his tune
Yeah.
about a movie, right?
Well, it's about
A little bit.
kind of someone's paranoid outlook, but the interesting takeaway in the song is that he was paranoid himself about the quality of the song, and he approached Strummer and said, I have the song, I don't think it's very good though. And Strummer said, no, there's potential, so go and work on it and polish it up. But he was paranoid, and the lyrics reflect, you know, someone's paranoid outlook on life. So that's kind of the irony there. But yeah, it was the first song that he got on a Clash record, and they let him sing it too.
Well, I love Rangamboyo. I think this song is great. I just love it. I love this, like the start of it. It's just kind of like, again, it's like Clampdown. It kind of starts out one way, and then all of a sudden it's like real ska. Yeah.
And you can hear somebody, I think it's Strummer, who says like, start over.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
All right. Should we plow ahead here?
Yes. So,
Still-
you know, yeah.
Have another 8 songs.
2 hours later.
It's like Death or Glory is kind of a thinly veiled shot at bands that promised to die before they got old. So this song is kind of a dig at the idea, because those bands were still around, and like this came out in 79, so those bands were like really still around later on, right?
Is Coca-Cola really about Coca-Cola?
No, it's really not.
No, you sure?
Pretty sure.
Oh,
Pretty sure.
it says "Treat me nice, party girl. Coke adds life where there isn't any." Coca-Cola advertising and cocaine strolling down the Broadway in the rain. Or sorry, Death or Glory. Did you talk about Death or Glory too?
Yeah.
That was, man.
We're going all the way through.
They
We're on the card sheet now.
no, you're just blowing through these. Hold on, let's
It's gonna be like
slow
a 3-hour
down.
show.
Let's slow down and break it down here, because love and hate tattooed across the knuckles of his hand.
1 eternity later.
He who fucks nuns will later join the church. How about that for a line?
Wow.
Okay, clearly not as impressed by it as I am or many other people. The card sheet is cool.
Yeah,
I think.
card sheet,
I don't know.
yeah.
You tell me. How long do you want to stay on this one? 10 seconds?
No, I hear Springsteen in this. I don't know if you do.
Oh, this one, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Right? Do you agree?
Well, there's a piano in it. Totally.
Yeah. I get a little bit of the boss from this.
Yeah, Lover's Rock. You touched on this a little earlier, but definitely a love song.
The thing that I've always struggled with double albums is that as you get closer to, track 16, 18, it's...
Yeah.
Do you have the same... Like, I've always had a difficult time with a double record because it's like, wow, I either always want to go back and listen to something I heard previously, or I just don't have the bandwidth to get all the way through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I can tell. I could tell you have that feeling. You get through all this. Okay, we're almost there. Because you know what? It really changes. Like, they probably could have knocked off Four Horsemen and I'm Not Down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you could have just had 17 songs instead of 19.
Yeah.
But
no, I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, Revolution Rock is the same for me. It's a cover too.
It's a cover tune. It's cool though. I like it's great to hear reggae and Strummer sing though. Like it just works really well for me, I think.
He actually changed the lyrics of the song, I think, and he added that punk aesthetic he changed one of the lyrics to smash up the seats. This is like something like that. Just to kind of like punkify it.
Okay. Yeah. Instead of fold up your sheets.
That's what it was. You're right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was what it was originally, but
that's exactly what it was. Fold
and
up
then
your
he
sheets,
changed
Alex.
it to
Yeah. Clever, eh? That Joe Strummer.
Good Lord. Hey, can't have any fun with you, huh? You just like, yeah, that's what it was, Alex, you dummy. Okay, so Train in Vain. All right, Stand By Me.
Fold up your sheets. Yeah. So you know what's really kind of funny about that? The song is called Train in Vain.
Okay.
I don't believe those words are anywhere
Hilarious.
in this. Show's over. Show's over. Bye.
Don't worry, folks. This is the last double album we'll ever do. Brent's learned his lesson.
Yeah, done.
Actually, this is the third double album we've done on the show, just to make that point.
It is.
Wow.
So, very quickly,
sorry, go ahead.
Before I leave, Stand By Me was added to Train in Vain because people didn't know that the song was Train in Vain. You know, when you sing the song and like it's Train in Vain doesn't occur at any point, right? So when you hear Stand By Me, like people think the song is called Stand By Me. So they actually added that later. I think Spotify, like it's in brackets, Train in Vain, Stand By Me in brackets, just so you know what you're listening to.
Well, if you want to talk even funnier, Brent, I mean, the song wasn't even noted on the album.
That's right.
Because it went to print and then the song was written and they were like, it's got to go on.
They wanted to do a giveaway. Wasn't it supposed to be a promotional giveaway or something?
So they did. Yeah, they were going to give away a single, right? Or a free single or something. And because the record company was like, at the time telling them, we're not going to charge less than a double album for this, they were like, okay, well then let's give away a single. And on that single, it turns out they tricked them and they put 8 songs on the size of a single, and at 33 RPM, and people got an album for the cost of a single.
Cool.
Great.
All
You
right.
okay? You still got energy? You just ready to
No,
call
I'm
it quits?
leaving.
You ready to wrap it up?
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.
No record next week.
Wow, folks.
No,
Okay,
I'm
tune
kidding.
in next week.
I'm kidding. The record, I think we should do. Let's stay on this. because I have this fascination, and I'm hoping that you're interested in this too, in that kind of new wave into new romanticism from punk. Like it's a cool kind of like musical highway this time is. And another great band that was a part of it was a band called The Cars. So The Cars' first record, it's just called The Cars. Their debut album is very, very good. Into new wave. Yeah.
Great. Okay. The Cars. Boston's Boston.
There you go.
Right on, man.
That's it.
Well, 5 out of 5.
You give this a 5 out of 5, huh? Oh.
Just so you know, if you felt the energy completely sucked out of this episode at intermission, you are correct. You're correct. Just if you've got a Dyson lying around, that's where it all went. Right into your Dyson. Yeah, 5 out of 5. We'll do The Cars. See you next week.
All right.